Hey guys!
Hey guys!
Dave and Wemi here, and Alayo!
He's having dinner right now.
The whole family's here,
dinner.
Excuse me. So what this video is, I wanted to share a little bit more detail about Alayo's birth story from Daddy's perspective. Because main reasons that I wanted to share this is, one, I want Alayo to, know a little bit of, how he came into this world. Hi, buddy. You're just staring at me. And I also wanted to, make sure that Wemi was able to kind of gain some perspective, especially because, we told you guys at a high level how she was a bit out of it because of all the drugs that pain medication they put her on. So just wanted this to be a keepsake memory, and why not share with you guys. So I will definitely apologize in advance. I wrote this all. And so even the things like tense and referring to Wemi as either Wemi or her or mommy and like that is a little bit shaky. And so I wrote it all and then I read it once to Wemi and that's it.
We're both a blubbering mess.
And fair warning, we were both a blubbery mess. So
hopefully we got it together this time.
So we'll see how this one goes. We have no idea. So I just want to give fair warning. So Daddy's summary, written on March 18th and 19th. So, March 14th started as a normal workday. I went to work, but I came home a little bit early. On the drive home, I called Wemi as per usual, and we weighed the pros and cons of going into the hospital because of her high blood pressure. Since we had an appointment the next morning to see our doctor, and we knew she's awesome, we knew she would see us Tuesday morning if we were admitted that Monday night. So we decided to go in. When we got there, triage was a bit crazy. We got to the hospital around 7 or 8 p.m., but we didn't get into triage until about 10 or 11. Then they couldn't figure out why Wemi's blood pressure was still so high. March 15th. We got admitted and sent into the labor and delivery room. This was just after midnight, around midnight. So we were into room 2. There were many different ideas floating around, but ultimately Wemi officially got diagnosed with preeclampsia. The cure was delivery. Our doctor had prepared us for an assisted second stage delivery using forceps or the vacuum, and we were fine with that. The goal was to get Wemi under control so that we could proceed with delivery. This meant getting her blood pressure down and her breathing under control. Every time she laid back in bed, she would become so out of breath. The day went by with a few tests, but ultimately it was smooth. March 16th. Midnight hit and anesthesia came around to give Wemi an epidural. It wouldn't be used just yet, but it would be put in and tested. After a few emergencies took the anesthetist away, he began putting the epidural in. He constantly prepared Wemi for the pain or the cold that she was about to experience, but we were pleased when the pain was simply a push and the cold was actually just room temperature. The epidural was successfully installed and we were good to go. Later that morning, the induction process began. They rubbed something on Wemi, which started the process, and before she knew it, she began dilating. She got a catheter put in just after the epidural, and a few checks occurred to see how she was progressing. Some doctors were much more gentle than others. Our friend Tanisha came to visit, and we were having a fairly boring day. Contractions were starting, but with new epidural medicine, they were handled well. Wemi kept progressing, and they broke her water. This was around 3 p.m. She was about 4 centimeters dilated when they were going to be doing another check. She was about 4 centimeters dilated, and they were going to be doing another check around 8 p.m. They expected her to be about 7 or 8 centimeters by then, because they were going to give her some oxytocin to help keep things moving. At 6:25 p.m., Wemi was in a bit of discomfort and decided to roll to her side.
What? 6:25?
6:25.
That's not right.
Yes, it is.
No, because he was born at 5:43.
At 5:25.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, typo. At 5:25. At 5:25. I wrote it. Sorry.
I know.
Anyway, at 5:25, Wemi was in a bit of discomfort and decided to roll to her side. Shortly after, the paddles that monitor a baby's heart rate lost it. But this happened all the time. He hated those paddles. Nurse Paula came into the room and asked what was going on. She seemed urgent in her actions. I made a comment to Tanisha, something along the lines of, "Oh, she's fine, they worry too much." Next, Nurse Paula called for a support team and 2 or 3 more medical staff appeared. There was organized chaos and his heart rate wasn't climbing back up to normal. So the decision was to go into the operating room. They could check his heart rate again in there, but they may have to do an emergency C-section. It's 5:36. The trip from the labor and delivery room to the operating room was merely a few steps. They wheeled Wemi into a hallway where we had to leave Tanisha behind. They continued and brought Wemi into the OR, but left me behind in the hallway. They gave me a gown, a mask, and a hairnet, and that's it. No one told me anything but to sit down. It's 5:38. I can't sit down. I peer through the doors, but I can't see much. People are moving all over, and there is a sheet up. I can see Wemi's head, but most people are on the other side of the blanket. It's 5:39. I finally see a nurse who says I need to stay here, and maybe I should sit down. I ask her with tears in my eyes, "Can you tell me anything?" She can't. I peek back in the window and see a monitor with Wemi's heart rate, blood pressure, and a few other vitals. I know Wemi's heart rate. She was doing great, about 88. It would drop to 84 and up to 96 or so, but she's doing great. It's 5:41. Her heart rate is dropping. She's down to 78, to 74, and to 71. I fall back against the wall, and I look up to the heavens and cry out, "God, I know you've got me, but I need you in there with her. Please give me something." I'm so scared, and I shouldn't be. Time and time again, he has been there for me, and he's there now. It's 5:42. Wemi's heart rate starts climbing again, and I thank God. I still don't know what's going on, but I know everything's going to be okay. It's 5:43. "Baby's out," a nurse shouts. My jaw drops with anticipation, and I hear you cry. I break down, I hit the wall again, and I'm crying. I'm hyperventilating, I'm barely able to stand, but I cling to the railing in sheer awe and joy and excitement and just pure happiness. Seriously, just pure happiness. I lose all concept or care for time at this moment. They bring you away into a room and that I can't see into, but I thank God for you. I ask him to be with you, but for the time being, I return focus to Wemi. Everything looks stable, but the doctors seem to be acting urgently as well. A few moments go by and I just stare at the top of Wemi's head. It and the monitor are all I can see. I'm still thinking about you, but I can't get to you, and I know you're in good hands. Suddenly, our original doctor appears. She didn't do the emergency C-section, but she checks on me, but with tears in my eyes and barely any oxygen in my body, I just motion to her that I'm okay. And I want her to check on you and Mom. She does. She passes by Mom's head and says something to her, but convenes with the doctors who are performing the surgery. It was very brief, and she went in to see you. My focus returns to your Mom, but now I'm thankful for such good hands to be here with you. The doctor comes out of the OR and gives me my first update. You are doing well. Wemi is doing well. I think she explained why I wasn't allowed to be in with your Mom, because of the general anesthesia they were going to put her on. They didn't though. Instead, they just pumped her full of medication because they had to act so quickly. I think the doctor could tell I was a little distracted because I was still wondering how your Mom was doing, but she asked if she could take my phone to get a picture of you. I gave her Mom's phone because I knew she would want the very first pictures of you to be from her phone. Side note, I love our doctor, but I think she needs to learn to use an iPhone because the first pictures of you were square instead of normal photos. Now, moments before this happened, I know that I had let both of your grandmas know that you were on your way because I had my phone out already. I honestly didn't remember doing this, but it was at 5:42 according to my phone history. Shortly thereafter, the doctor came back with the first glimpses of you. My heart melted. I broke into tears of joy, and I again couldn't catch my breath, because you were so amazing to see. Here. The doctor congratulated me and was on her way, but she would be back. After a few more moments, I was finally escorted in to sit with Mommy. She was still being stitched back up, and she was clearly on a lot of medication. I immediately held her hand and kissed her forehead and thanked her and told her she'd done a great job and that she's now a mother. I didn't sit with her very long before a nurse came to me to ask if I wanted to see my son. Of course. She brought me into the room where they had initially taken you, and there you were, just cozy and beautiful and perfect, and the emotions hit me hard again. I was just so amazed by you, but I was also so scared to touch you. You were so tiny, you were so precious, you just seemed so delicate. But you weren't. You were strong, and you were big for your age, and you were a fighter, just like Mommy. The doctor who was taking care of you congratulated me and explained all of the things that were connected to you. You had a mask on your nose to assist with your breathing, but she informed me that you were breathing on your own. You just needed to develop a little more strength in your breaths and a little consistency. You also had a very tiny tube down your throat that went directly into your tummy. It could feed you, but it could also help ensure that your stomach wouldn't get too small. You had 2 heart monitors on your chest and a temperature monitor closer to your stomach. Your umbilical cord was clamped, and you were already in your first little diaper. On one foot, you had an oxygen sensor wrapped around, and on the other foot was a tiny blood pressure monitor. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay very long because there were other babies in the room with you that needed some attention, so back to Mom I went. They were in the process of stitching her back up, and every now and then there was a look of severe distress on her face. The anesthetist and I would ask if she's okay, but we couldn't get anything out of her. I kept asking if she was okay, or if she was in pain, but she didn't respond. I was holding her hand the whole time, and I felt a little squeeze. I then got real close to her and whispered, "Wemi, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand." And she did. From then on, I knew she could hear me, and I told her how proud I was of her. I told her how beautiful you were, and I told her what a great job she had done. And I told her she was almost done. That was a lie. It took what seemed like hours, but it probably wasn't, to finish stitching up your mom and washing her clean. There was a lot of medical talk happening, but eventually it appeared to be done. The doctor who performed the actual surgery stepped back and took down his mask. I looked up, and as best as I could, I said thank you. I was barely able to mutter those 2 words, but I think he knew how much I meant them. We carted Mom back to her room where all the action had started, and there was Tanisha, standing with open arms to congratulate us and give me a hug. Unfortunately, you weren't able to come with us, as you were still in the room with the 2 other babies. A few moments went on, and this part is a bit blurry in terms of what happened first, but my mom showed up and congratulated us, but wasn't able to meet you. We shared your full name, and that was its own challenge. What is it? Say it again? One more time? Maybe we'll just call him Al. At the time of writing this, they, my mom and dad, better not call you Al. Your name is not difficult to pronounce. It's a beautiful name. It's more unique than David, but it's yours, and I hope you love it as much as your mom and I do. We also called your mom's mom again, because we thought she should have been here by now, but she wasn't. When I called, it sounded like a party. There was music playing, screaming, and shouting, and it definitely didn't sound like she was driving. Luckily, Mom uses Find Friends to know where she is at all times, and it said she was at Chuck E. Cheese. No way, right? To be continued. The third thing that happened in this window was a doctor whom we had never met before came by and congratulated us, and we had a brief discussion. He opened with, "We have a problem." We've had some good and bad healthcare professionals throughout this journey, but that's not a great opening line. He said a few things, but what I remember him distinctly saying is that you'll have to be taken to level 2, but he needs our consent. I told him he needs to open with it. He needs to open with that. This isn't bad news, right? We're in labor and we knew the labor and NICU floors were 15 to 17, so I did ask a few questions like, do they have all the necessary equipment? Will we be able to visit you there? Etc., etc. All good answers. So I asked why he needs our consent to take you down to the second floor. Take our son wherever you need to give him the best treatment. Unfortunately, level 2 didn't mean floor 2. Level 2 meant another hospital. To my knowledge, Mount Sinai is a level 1 and 3 hospital, which means it can handle the normal births as well as some pretty complicated ones. The hospital for sick kids might be considered a level 4, but I don't even really know if that exists. Regardless, level 2 boiled down to you were doing great. Yes, you were a bit premature, but you were doing well, and a different hospital that handles less critical cases could take care of you. Well, this was obviously very reassuring. I definitely didn't want you and Mom to be separated any more than you had to. I asked the doctor what options we had, and it was simply a matter of space. There were simply no beds available for you. So what was I supposed to do? After asking if we had any other options, which we didn't, I complied. Tanisha called her mom and suggested that we have to take you anywhere, go to St. Mike's. Even that was out of our hands because we had to find a level 2 hospital that had room for you. Our prayers went up. Your mom was barely coherent because of all the medication she was on, but I know she prayed for you as well. It was great news that you were healthy enough to leave. But I just couldn't imagine how to manage you and your mom being so far apart. But our prayers were answered. Oh, don't do that. I'm just kidding. Our prayers were answered. After about an hour, a different doctor appeared to tell us that you wouldn't be leaving, and in fact, you'll be stopping by for a visit. With Mom heavily drowsy on medication, you arrived shortly after the doctor came in. I wish you could have seen it. I wish you could have seen the look on Mom's face when you came in. You were in an incubator and she was practically unconscious. Moments before, she would say coherent words, but completely out of any context, and she wouldn't remember that she said them, literally seconds after saying them. Yet, you came in, and for the short visit you were here, that went away. Mom's eyes opened up entirely. She sensed you in the room even before we told her. She sat up in the bed and reached into the incubator to touch you. She told you she loved you. She prayed for you. She told you how beautiful you were and how happy she was to see you. Alayo, I love you. But in this moment, my love for your mom was stronger than anything I've ever felt. I stared deep at your mom. I was so proud of her and so in love with her. I was so amazed by the focus she had on you. It was incredible. I recorded some of it, and a nurse and a doctor took a few pictures, but this all happened so fast, and soon it would be over. An alarm in your incubator was going off because the battery was low, so they had to take you upstairs to the NICU on floor 17. They told me I can come see you in about an hour, and they left. Immediately, your mom passed back out. All of her energy and focus was used for you, and when you left the room, that strength was gone. It was as if she borrowed that energy from the next few days and would have to pay it back tenfold. But as I sit here and write this with her resting by my side, still in the hospital, I would bet she would do it all again. I patiently let the hour count down until I could see you again. My mom and Tanisha had left by this point, so they unfortunately didn't get to meet you just yet. But I was ready again. I came up to your room, and there you were, laid out so openly, so freely, and again so precious. I just stared at you. I talked to you. I introduced myself over and over and asked if you were doing okay. I promised to love you and protect you and provide for you. I thank God for you, and I told you Mommy wishes she could be up here too, but right now she couldn't be. I closed my eyes, I dropped hard to one knee, and I prayed for you. I thanked God over and over for you, and just asked Him to be with you and your Mommy and bring you full health and happiness. By the time you read this on your own, you'll know that all I ever asked for is health and happiness for my friends and family, and I hope you do too. The rest of the night was a bit of a blur. Your mom's mom came in to visit and informed us of why she was so late. It was a cute story of Hosanna, one of her foster children, wanted to celebrate her birthday one day earlier and go to Chuck E. Cheese. Well, when I told her that you were here, she was obviously thrilled. She screamed and shouted and celebrated your arrival and shared the news with all the kids. They were excited too, at first. That excitement changed to fear when they realized they might not get to go to Chuck E. Cheese anymore. But Grandma did not disappoint. She took them to Chuck E. Cheese as promised and came right after to see you. Grandma will never break a promise to you. I took Grandma up to see you and she prayed over you as well. It was beautiful. I cannot remember all the prayers she prayed, but I know she put you in good hands with our God. Alayo, that is your story of how you entered this world from Daddy's perspective. I hope to be able to describe your first few moments in this world, and Mommy's moments as well, very soon, as they are fresh, so that they're fresh in my mind. So I wrote that, wanting to recap days, 1, 2, 3, but
that turned into 2 weeks,
yeah.
so he just.
So that I haven't got around to that. But that is Alayo's birth story. This little man, from Daddy's perspective. Sorry, I got a little emotional. It was Wemi. Once Wemi touches my thigh, it just ruins me. But anyway, that was
okay.
Yeah, that was a bit of it's even funny. It's so that's more detail, but it's missing so much.
Yeah.
Even as I read that, the first time I read it to you, I was like, yeah, that's complete. This time read it and it doesn't even include the I say you got a catheter. Why did you get a catheter? Because you were on Lasix to try to drain all the fluid that's in your body and all that. And it's just kind of funny. So it is missing a few details, but it's still.
I think it captures what's important because, for me, the first time I read it, I cried a lot because.
You didn't read it.
Sorry, the first time you read it to me, I cried a lot because I didn't remember a lot of those things. Like he said, Dave said, his mom came to visit. Didn't even know she was there, and apparently, I'm sure I, talked to her
a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't even know she was there. Yeah. So there are just a lot of things that happened, and obviously, him being outside and our OB come in to talk to him and taking his phone and apparently checking on me,
taking your phone.
Yeah, taking my phone. Apparently, checking and talking to me. I didn't know any of that happened, so it was just amazing to hear the things that happened while I was, unconscious.
Yep. Or just in another room.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was crazy. The one thing those minutes.
Around now.
Okay. Those.
He doesn't like that.
Those 7 minutes, guys, from the time that they gave me the gown to him being born, and I was just standing in that hallway. It was only 7 minutes, but I swear it felt like days. It was the I don't know, scariest and most exciting and so many different emotions and confusing because I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, just so many emotions, but it felt like every second just was an hour, and then so much whirlwind after that felt it probably took hours, or
Yeah, it took hours,
yeah.
but felt like
minutes. Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like, you know, from my perspective of being in the operating room, because, as Dave said, they had to, you know, an emergency kind of just pump me with a bunch of random drugs in a sense. I had such, like, I've been on, you know, heavy painkillers before. I've had surgeries before where I've had to go through, you know, general anesthesia or whatever, where I've been put to sleep and stuff. But all the drugs they put me on during the procedure, I was so, like, it was an out of body experience. Like, I can tell you, I remember just kind of staring at myself on the table and being like, it's okay, you did your best. It's okay to let go, and, you know, kid's out and he's alive and he's good. Dave will take care of him. Like, it's okay to let it go. And I remember just, like, you know, and just seeing things that didn't make sense in a way. And yeah, it was quite an experience, to say. This guy, I wish you guys could see, like, what we're seeing.
If he was still
Do you guys see him? Like, he's such a
bring
poser.
it back to your chest, because if he lays down the way he lays down again, then I'll bring the camera around, because it is pretty funny.
Can you go down, mister? No? We're just gonna... No? Okay. You let me know when you're done. He's such a little wiggle worm. His eyes are, like, closed and... Oh, can you guys see this? Are you done? I think he's done. Okay, now can you lay down? Thank you. No, we're not done.
Quit sticking your tongue out.
Anyways, he's quite entertaining. Oh, he's so precious. So precious. But yes, that was all just a crazy process, and again, I'm just so thankful for the things that Dave was able to write down and share with me to help me kind of relive it from all perspectives.
Yeah, it was the I wrote this over, it was 2 days, 18th and 19th. So that was the day after he was born, and then the day after that, and so it started when we went in for after. So she still had some of her own complications to deal with. Pardon me, and those required tests and X-rays and such. And one of those was a CT scan, right? That was the one we went down.
Yeah, that was
so
painful.
CT scan. It was painful.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Because I had to cough.
So
that was when I was going through my coughing fits.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move.
You weren't going through your cough fits yet.
Yeah, I was.
I didn't think they had started yet.
I was. Because I remember laying in there and I needed to cough so badly, and you're supposed to not move. You're supposed to hold your breath.
Right. So you were coughing. It wasn't your coughing fits yet. They had started.
Sure. And I couldn't. And I was laying there, and because of my hematoma, it was extremely painful to cough. So I couldn't. I was just laying there like, oh my God, this hurts so badly. But anyways, go on.
Anyway, so it was down for one of those tests, and that's when I wrote it. So because I wanted it to be fresh, and especially with seeing the possibility that, you know, we might be here. We were there for 2 weeks. Didn't think it was going to be 2 weeks, but even if we were there for a week, that's still a long separation to you know, remembering and all the detail and stuff. So I started writing it. So when I wrote this is all very, very fresh, and it's crazy. Like I just read those words because, well, they're my words, and like it just brings me back to those moments, and it's crazy. Like it was a unreal experience, but I didn't even do anything, but still, it was wild. So worth it, right, buddy? High five. Oh, I thought you were high fiving.
No.
Faked it.
Mm-hmm.
Last, before we go, I just want to share Alayo. He's our little jokester with his smooth today. So we're having a little photo shoot with him today. It was great, and you know, he just lays and he's got his arms all whatever. So he had his arm up in the air. He said, "Alayo, do you have a question?" And then he's just like, "Nope." And the slowest motion ever, just smooth. He like rubbed his hair and then just. It was pretty awesome. Oh god.
We'll
Such a
capture
little
many
jokester.
of these moments for you guys.
Yeah.
Once we get back to our
Back
to our
normal.
recorded schedule.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching. That is our labor story from
Dad's
perspective. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Alayo kind of jumped and said bye, but bye.